M80 just went 3-0 in Stage 1 of the StarLadder Budapest Major and didn't drop Mirage a single time, and it wasn't a fluke. This team looked insanely comfortable on the map, shutting teams down on both sides and making Mirage look like their playground. In this video, the demo review breaks down exactly how M80 dominated Mirage, going over the protocols, mid-rounds, and setups. So if you want to understand why the Mirage works and how to steal pieces of it for your own matches, this is the one to watch. So starting off on the pistol round, M80 actually did something that surprises me a lot. That's something that a lot of you guys might encounter. So they want to go for a B pop, but they're going to encounter some utility that's going to stop them. And a lot of you guys might run into this in your Premier games or maybe your Faceit games, and you're going to see that the B player is going to molly him. But you notice how M80 doesn't freak out. They don't try to run through the molly. They don't try to put it out with an extra smoke that they might have. They just sit right behind the molly. Now they can identify the utility that is thrown. They can see that there is a smoke down for bench, so they know that they're playing for back sight, and this doesn't really freak them out. They still want to commit to this plan even though Paravision is overstacking. But what makes this round very important is the way that M80 decides to entry. So once they start going out towards B, we're going to see Lake run through the middle of the site. Now a lot of you guys might think that this might be, kind of trolling. What he's doing is he's drawing all the crosshairs of Paravision because everyone is going to be super focused on Lake. As you can see, this player here that was playing empty is shooting at Lake, and James is also shooting at him as well. He's causing so much chaos that it actually allows for Hex and Slacks to scale on the left side and isolate this cat player. So you're going to see this exactly here where Hex is able to get this kill. Hex is now tucking mid-site. There's a lot of team play going on because they know it's going to be overstacked just because they sat behind the molly. So now Hex is being very patient sitting here towards back site. Now Slacks is going to trade here, and you can even see Hex is still just trying to stay alive in the site, and now it's a 3v1. Now if we look at it at a super fast pace, you'll see how fast this goes down, but there's a lot of team play understanding that M80 did, recognizing that Paravision knew exactly what strat they were going to run, but they decided to communicate and actually play together. Now since M80 just won pistol, this is where the conditioning aspect comes in, and we're going to see a smoke that they throw for almost half of their entire T side, and that's going to be their top connector smoke that Sin is going to throw. And this strat is actually very chaotic because Lake is actually going to be running through this smoke, and you can see how M80 is going to play off of this. So Lake's going to go down towards mid. Now something to keep in mind, Lake has mid for free, so Lake is calming that they're playing for A or B, and M80 actually does a really good job with this because if we watch Hex this round, he's going to go into ramp. Now once we see that Lake obviously has mid, watch Hex's micro. First he's going to play anti. Lake is now calming, hey guys, they might be mid. So now Hex and Swisher are playing really good here together, where Swisher is playing anti-flash, and Hex's micro is also very good because since they know they're not on mid, they obviously have to be playing for A or B like I mentioned earlier, which means they might try to make an aggressive play in ramp. So Hex is doing some really good micro movements here just so he isn't caught off guard. Now Lake is going to get flashed through top con, and you can see the utility raining in. Now what makes this strat very important is that this pretty much makes the players in sight have to choose what they want to fight. If we watch Lake's POV when he's running through connector, you're going to see the two people in sight pretty much just have to decide. So Lake's going to get this kill on jungle, and then you can see these players here have decided that they want to fight towards ramp. This gives Lake free opportunity kills, plus this utility eliminating threats from jungle. Lake is literally able to just run into sight and just confuse everyone that's playing in A. This is a pure chaos strat that M80 obviously drew up, but it's going to destroy any stack towards the A site because there's no isolated duels, and if the CTs want to isolate duels either towards connector or towards ramp, they just get blindsided from either side. Now this round M80 is going to be playing against an eco, which they know because Paravision just bought. So there's going to be some mid-round calling in here. We're going to see kind of a standard default come out of M80 where they're smoking in con and window. And I just also want to note the team play here as well. This is how well thought out M80 is playing, where Slacks is throwing the window flash, and you can see that we have Sin on the close wall and Lake on the back wall, and they're swinging together. So Lake gets out mid and spots one cat, and you notice that Sin's going to try to close the space on this player. Now Lake's literally just going to be holding this flash. Now they kind of sit in mid for a little bit before Sin decides to take some cat control, but you can notice that Sin's going to get into ladder. Now there's really no idea what's happening in the round because Slacks is still mid with the bomb. Lake here is trying to support Sin in ladder where he smoked in top connector. He also flash formed cat, and this is where the grouping starts to happen with the mid round, where they decide that they want to end over towards B. Now they have heard zero noise at all, so they kind of have to guess if it's a stack or not. And since Sin is in ladder room, the ideal place to go is the B site because even if they're stacked towards B, Sin is at least able to backstab, while M80 can just sit in halls, try to take aim duels, or just freeze and wait for Sin to blindside. So we're going to see that play out here where M80 is just going to go over towards B apps. Hex is going to throw his molly. Now notice once they throw the molly, all of them make noise. There's no more walking around. There's no more just taking our time. They know that since they're starting to clear out the site, that they can start to make noise. So we're going to see Lake even nade Van. He's going to molly towards bench. And what they're doing here is just eliminating threats. So they're making sure they're using all their utility. They know they're on pistol, so they know that no one's playing these close angles. They know no one can now be bench because of their Molotov. And now they know that they just have duels over towards back site. Now we can even kind of see Hex's entry path coming in here. He knows exactly where to look just because of the utility that they threw. So they're going to flash over. He's just going to scale. He's hearing the burns, and you can see that he's just waiting for the flashes, and he knows that they can only be back site and over here towards cat because also Sin is getting no contact at all. So there could be a player at pillar or get right. So he's waiting here just to see if anyone is, going to eventually peek him. But then he knows he has a free duel right here towards backside, which he wins. And then M80 basically just win the round off of that.
Now, before I get into the next tip, let me tell you about SkinsMonkey is a CS2 skins trading site marketplace that provides an instant way to get new skins. The favorite thing about SkinsMonkey is that I can trade skins that I no longer want and trade it for a skin that has equal value. If you use code LouisCS2, you get a $5 bonus on your first trade. And if you want to buy skins, you can get a 30% deposit bonus plus an extra 5% using my code. The link is down in the description. Thank you, SkinsMonkey, for sponsoring this video.
So here we're going to see another standard default come out of M80. We can see the in-con smoke and window smoke like we did before. They're trying to deny underpass with a Molotov, and they're just pretty much making sure they're going through their checklist on how they want to take mid. Now, once they have mid, they're going to leave Lake over here towards boxes because this is a really good spot. He still has his smoke in his belt. So if Paravision wants to fight towards mid, all he has to do is put out the Molotov boxes, and then one of his teammates over here can flash in front for him to fight. But one thing you notice is that M80 is starting to group towards B. So they've gone B majority of their rounds so far, besides after they won pistol. Paravision just kind of has to guess because they don't really know their game plan yet. And now they're going to be throwing mid retake nades. Now what's happening here is the push and pull aspect of the round. Whenever M80 went up cat, they did smoke top con, but they never made any con pressure. But now we're going to see Lake get inserted into connector. And this is really important because again, this is going to be a push and pull aspect of Counter-Strike where Lake's going to walk through the smoke and then get 2 free kills on people playing towards A. Now, something that is very important at this part of the round is M80 should immediately fall back. But now they're all in halls, just throwing their utility, trying to fake this B progression. They know that the B anchor's still alive. Sin just died to cat, so they know that there's 2 B, and they really don't try to isolate anyone on A because since there's only 1 player, and Lake has all the rotations cut off. But instead, what they decide to do is just fake their utility, pretend they're committing to B, and pretty much just make Lake useless, thinking that maybe Paravision might save. But you can see that they're taking way too much time. Now, what M80 should have done this round is once Lake gets those 2 free kills, is to just simply turn back to A, because this is pretty much just opening up the A site. They know where both players are on B, and they're wasting their utility. Now, if I fast forward the round, you're going to see how important utility is. Imagine if M80 didn't dump all their utility on the B site. That means they can block cat and get up connector for free. But since they didn't do this, we're going to see Hex get picked off by James because they have to team play up connector. Someone has to hold cat, someone has to hold site. They don't have to worry about jungle since Lake is sitting right here in window just posted, and James is able to just get all of these free kills. But if they save their utility, they wouldn't have to worry about this position at all, and they could both just run up connector, all 3 of them, and be able to trade James on the site. But you can see that since this has happened, all these kills are just falling into place where these guys are able to isolate all the duels just because they wasted their utility and just hesitated a little bit by not immediately running back towards A. Now, M80 just destroyed Paravision's money, so they know that they're going to be saving. And if you guys remember that a lot of the times M80 have been throwing this connector smoke, they've been smoking top con, but this round they're not going to do that. And also to remember, M80 has been ending B a lot of the round. So they've conditioned Paravision to think that their game plan is going to pretty much just targeting the B site, and that's going to make Paravision actually stack over towards B. And Sin does a really good job at reading this and really understanding his game plan. So we're going to see M80 out towards mid. Now, one thing I want to note on this round as well is Hex spawn over here towards the right side. Since Hex has this spawn, he's able to eliminate any threats pushing towards under because M80 is silent towards mid. They don't really want to show necessarily that they're, trying to block underpass or trying to block mid. So Hex is going to actually take his spawn just to make sure no one has pushed over here towards under. Now that they know under's clear and M80 is out mid, this is still looking like their standard default. But one thing they're not going to do is smoke top connector because since they're on eco, they want to make sure that they're taking all of these duels over here towards the A site. So we're going to see that they're walking over here towards con. They're just just using their Molotovs. Now what's important on an eco round is that you don't necessarily want to use a lot of smokes because everyone knows that you can hide in a smoke with a pistol, and you can even see Swisher over here towards ramp playing very passive because of all these super tight angles. He also knows ramp is smoked, and a lot of people want to be close with pistols, so someone could be really close to this smoke. They could be in the smoke and just waiting for Swisher to just, be inside a ramp when the smoke fades. So this is why M80 are prioritizing Molotov to, eliminate the threats of Cat, clear out connector, and not use any smokes. After all this clearing, you're going to see that they're just going to start taking duels up here towards A. They're able to just team play, use utility, flashing off spawn, smoking jungle, and pretty much just isolating and gambling that their game plan has been right so far and that Paravision was stacked to B site. Okay, so far in the game, we have seen that M80 have targeted the B site and they've heavily targeted mid. So this is where a site execute comes in. Now, this execute that we're about to see is very important because Sin is predicting that Paravision are going to be fighting towards mid. And you can actually see that it almost looks like Paravision is exactly set up for this. So again, Sin has another great read on what Paravision are doing in the round. So we're going to see this utility come in from M80, and they're actually going to be running with the nades. Now, the reason why you want to do this is because, again, Sin is predicting that they're going to be playing for a mid fight and playing heavy for mid just to deny their normal default. Now, we can see that they threw 3 smokes in mid, and this looks like their standard default again. So Paravision have really no idea what's going on. But also, this hit is going to come in very early because you noticed it's all 5 here towards A. Since they threw no flashes in mid, this is going to make Paravision just kind of like guess and think like, what's going on? They didn't flash out mid, so maybe they're not out mid. Now, Sin and M80 understand this timing, and this is why they're going to be also running with the nades. So you're going to see Lake just entering out with utility, running with the nades. Even though 2 kills get down, they're going to get all the way into jungle. Now, what's important to note on the A side of Mirage is that when you take the A site, you don't just want to hold the A site when you have it. You want to make sure that you're taking jungle, connector, or CT spawn, and this execute allows M80 run deep into jungle so they can set up for the post plant. Now, Slacks is going to plant for them, and M80 is going to do a really good job on this post plant where they're able to just keep jungle control, make sure no one's coming through con. And when you have control like this, it also gives you outs into the round where you can just predict where the CTs are coming from, because obviously they can only go connector and CT. Slacks is aware of a flank, as you can see, where he's just kind of holding the flank, but he also understands the timing, where once he clears it, he knows that he can just come back over towards the A site, and he's also holding the cross. So anyone that's coming through spawn, which is very predictable since they have jungle, they can't just run up on their teammates sitting inside a jungle for the post plant, and it's going to pretty much just guarantee them the round. Okay, so this round Paravision are going to call a timeout, and when teams call timeouts, it pretty much just means they don't have an answer or a solution and something's going to change. And we're going to see M80 recognize this when they do their normal mid default, where they're going to notice something very suspicious once they get out over towards mid. So Sin's going to come over towards mid. They're going to be throwing their nades. Now, something to note as well, they didn't smoke in connector, which they had been conditioning, but also you can see that Sin sees that someone made the cat jump. Now, James does shoot his op, so they know the opper is on cat, and what a lot of oppers will do is once they take a shot, they will immediately move. So with this in mind, we can see on the minimap that James is obviously moving away, trying to reposition his op, but M80 also thinks that Paravision might be fighting mid, because usually when someone's jumping cat, there is a mid fight. So Lake is aware that someone could be sitting in valley, waiting to just push up mid, and he's just trying to play back and wait for his team. Now, they do go towards the B site, but now M80 want to fake that they are retaking mid, so they throw a window smoke. Lake's going to start to walk up, and they're pretty much just going to say, hey guys, we know that you were in mid, now we're going to find out if you are, and this is going to put pressure on Paravision. And you can see so much pressure is on them, and with James shooting his op on cat, he knows he has to reposition, and they're gambling over towards A. Now, we're going to see some more nades come in where M80 want to go up cat, but they actually make a really big mistake on this round, because you can see that they want to go B, but there's something that they don't do correctly when they go towards the B site. Now, we can see that Sin and Lake are getting up towards cat. They are making a lot of noise and a lot of pressure, and Sin actually makes the right read on this mid round, but something important this round costed them to lose. So we can see that Sin and Lake are getting hard pressure in cat. Now, usually if they're making this much noise on cat, someone on cat is going to try to fight them, especially with a con break. They want to fight this together, where the con player and the A site player or the con player can just fight this cross together. And once this smoke broke, they saw no one fight cat. So the people in halls know that the cat player is going to be playing somewhere like Get Right, because in Counter-Strike, usually on a site, you want to try to fight the same thing. Like if a team's coming out A, a lot of people will want to either try to fight Palace or Ramp together and have a setup for it. So over on the B site, they know that the B player is still alive. They obviously know that the cat player is also still alive. And since there's so much cat pressure, no one would want to be playing Get Right, because this is just a one and done spot. So they should expect the other B player, aka the cat cat player to be playing towards back site. Now, if we notice over here in halls, M80 doesn't really recognize that no one is playing over towards cat, and they do the wrong pathing and utility. So these players are going to start to walk out. They're going to molly bench, isolate this angle, and then molly back site, and we're going to see 2 people jump out the window. Now, the reason why this is bad is because they're not recognizing the setup. What M80 should have done is molly bench and back site. The reason why they want to do this is because they know someone has to be spotting cat, and they know the CTs will try to fight one area together. So if they molly off bench and back site, they know that these guys on cat now have no vision, and they pretty much just broken their setup. But they threw the incorrect mollies, because even if they molly bench and let's say the setup was backside and van, Slacks would be able to post on the player over here towards backside, which Slacks does a good job at posting and throwing utility, as we can see if we kind of skip through this round, where he's going to be throwing the flashes, and then he wants to post, but he knows someone's in jail. Now, what the pathing should have been on this execute is that someone should have jumped out the window where they jumped directly right here to be able to isolate jail, and then a player should have swung over here towards bout and then been able to fall, and they could fight this guy together. But instead, they decide to jump 2 out window, not really understanding the setup. Now, the pathing that M80 should have taken is if they wanted to molly van, that's totally fine, but they should have had one player jump out window and flash into mid site. But Slacks decides that he wants to flash over here towards top bench, which isn't necessarily doing anything good, because if they even think that someone might be get right, we want to flash one of those angles off. Since they're already mollying back site, that means no one can really be back site and he's flushed out, and they're not necessarily isolating anything, because this guy sitting here in jail, he doesn't really get blinded by these flashes that Slacks is throwing. Now, M80 lose this round because they don't properly execute the B site with the information that is given, and we're going to see this right here. We know that the player is in bench. Now, something to note is that Sin is all the way up cat. They know ladder room is clear, but there is a dead giveaway in Paravision setup, which we're going to see right here. The con smoke breaks. Now, in tier 1 Counter-Strike, there's a lot of team play that goes on. So if the CTs are trying to break the con smoke, that means they would want to fight this line together and try to eliminate anyone running up cat. Now, this is a dead giveaway because they know, well, no one's swinging off cat, so that means it must be 2 on B site. But M80 didn't necessarily wait for that sort of information, and we can see that they're already throwing utility. If they would have waited for their teammates to get around here towards bricks, it would have told them where they should be throwing their utility, and since they're not playing for cat, that means they're playing for B apps. On CT side, you need to have vision of cat, which means their setup would have been someone back site and someone over here towards bench looking cat, but since obviously that's not what's happening and Paravision gambled towards the A site, what I'm saying doesn't necessarily matter, but their utility does, because we can see M80 decided to molly van and molly back site, but this van molly should have actually been over here towards bench, and they also should have flashed mid site. Slacks is throwing these flashes that are landing over here towards mid site, which don't really necessarily do anything, because if they did want to jump out halls, this player back site would have swung left to fight with the bench player, so he should have either thrown his flashes deeper, or he should have just flashed them over here towards mid site, just in case someone was playing over here towards cat with a crossfire, and then they would have actually won the round. Now, their pathing is also questionable here as well, where if they used the mollies on back site and bench, someone should have jumped out the window, parked right here, probably would have died to this player. Someone should have swung bout, which have been hexed. He can drop down van and then instantly trade this player here towards bench, but we can see that M80 decided to jump 2 out window, and then this bench guy was able to isolate, and then Swisher was caught off by these instant rotations. All right, so this round, Lake's gonna have a spawn for mid, and this is the first buy round that M80 are playing against. They know that Paravision just invested a little bit in last round, so they know they have little utility, which is also why Lake is comfortable taking the spawn. Now, he's gonna smoke bottom con to kind of fake that there, is a con player, and he's also helping Sin save a lot of his utility. But something about this angle is very important, where if you notice, Lake is playing on this left side of the wall, and this is so he can see James at pretty much the almost same exact time. But also the thing with underpass is you can't get far enough from the wall where you can actually isolate this angles. So he's going to be able to see James first, and he's able to at least have a higher chance in this duel just because of the advantage he had. Now, since Lake gets spotted, he knows that he threw the bottom con smoke and can get out, and now he's going to kind of reinforce over towards A. Now, there hasn't been any noise in mid, so Lake's just kind of trying to keep Paravision promise if they might have walked out mid, and we're going to see an A execute come in. Now, something that really hurts M80 is Slacks is trying to fight Palace when all of his teammates are hiding. And this shows that there was a little bit of miscommunication because Lake and Sin are not really committed to fighting. They're kind of just jiggling and shooting. So we can see that Slacks is trying to fight all of this together because Lake and Sin are fighting Palace, and Slacks is also trying to do the same thing, but he almost gets caught out because even if he decided to hide over here in jungle, the chance of him getting mollied is very high, so he pretty much just throws his life away. Now, something on this retake that M80 do is fundamentals of Counter-Strike, where we know that the T's will want to take con, jungle, or spawn, and clearly M80 want to play for connector control, and you can see that they're all grouped. Now, Swisher plays this very well because since M80 do have con and they are smoked off, they're not sure if Paravision is in jungle, so Swisher's being very careful in case Paravision decided to take spawn, so he's just going to be hiding and listening. Now, M80 go through the connector smoke together, which is very good, and you're going to see they're just using their utility trying to fight together. They're not really getting overzealous. They're trying to take duels together. Swisher's coming through spawn at the right time, and then Hex is in a 2v1, and this is actually a pretty crazy 2v1 because he's going to get a clean defuse here on this player, where he's going to get a nice 5-second defuse. Zilio's trying to just guess if he's on it, and then he just whiffs, so M80 kind of get a nice lucky round. Now, this CT side round doesn't go in favor of M80 because they actually make a very bad decision. Now, Slacks is going to go for a mid kill and hold for anyone swinging window, and he hits a pretty insane shot, which makes the round start a 4v4. Now, with this, they know the opper's in mid, and this guy just tried to sell his life running out. They know it's a fast mid round, so they know majority of Paravision is going to be in mid, but we're going to see Swisher take an isolated fight. He's going to flash over, he's going to, eliminate the threat of chair, and he's going to get boosted into cat. Now, we notice Lake isn't even ready to even swing through con. If Lake was bottom con, ready to swing through this smoke on Swisher's contact, and then maybe someone rotated over here towards window, this would be a very good mid-fight round, but we're going to see Swisher just get isolated by someone walking down valley, and it's going to make M80 lose the round. Now, you might be wondering, what should M80 do in this round to ensure a win? And that's to take extremities. So if we watch Swisher's POV and Hex's POV, we can see that already right now it's a 4v4. This is where you want to take the extremities of the map, because since we know Paravision is heavy in mid, we can get a nice 2v1 duel by taking halls or over here towards Palace or ramp. Now, Sin is by himself, and Lake is in a sus position where he doesn't want to necessarily cross back because maybe someone wants to take a timing out ramp, thinking that M80 could be fighting mid since Slacks was sitting here posted window. So Hex and Swisher should actually walk through apps, and we can see that this is the correct play because there is a gap, and this would allow someone to walk through TV and then someone to walk through under, because Paravision take a while to progress in mid, where if we fast forward this round, they could already be top underpass by this point and have all the information where Sin could get into sight, Lake could rotate over here towards spawn, they could get ready to reinforce A with someone flanking underpass, and then maybe they would even have time to get, obviously the bomb control, and it would ensure them the round. So here they obviously just took the wrong duels and had the wrong plan, and they weren't necessarily connected, which costed M80 the round. Now, since M80 did just lose, their buy is a little chalk, where they have a 5-7 MP9 FAMAS, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to lose the round, and they play this round very, very well, and Swisher wins them the round by getting 0 kills. So we can see that they're kind of set up for a ladder boost and some sort of a mid trap, where they want Paravision to get in mid and they'll just collapse on them once they're pretty much in their second progression phase. But what we're going to see is Paravision is setting up over towards B apps. Now, Hex is going to be sitting here jump spotting with his utility, and he's eventually going to fall back, and M80's pretty much just going to try to gamble stack. Now, Swisher is solo over here towards the B site. He's playing retake B from Cat, which we saw come into meta with Perfecto a long time ago when he was on Navi. But Swisher's going to start hearing these nades, and notice what Swisher does. So first, he's going to just spot. He only shoots 1 bullet. Now they know that Swisher is over here at this pillar, which means Paravision is going to have to somehow eliminate this guy by obviously pushing him. But Swisher knows that he can just stay alive, so he's going to keep trying to get spotted, get his 1 kill, and you can see that Sin over here towards Cat tries to take a duel, get eliminated, but the amount of pressure that Swisher has put on Paravision allows Hex to swing out here, get a kill, but he doesn't overextend. Hex doesn't get excited and think, wow, I can start to pad my stats. I have 12 kills. I might be able to get 15 now. He decides to fall back, and Swisher is still able to stay alive. Swisher was the B anchor of this round, and he stays alive for literally the whole round and wins and made it the round just by causing a little bit of pressure. So if you ever have low kills and maybe think like Sin here with 8, you know, don't think you have to overextend for kills if you are Swisher. Just know you have to stay alive and cause pressure, because if you stay alive, Paravision is just sitting in here thinking like, well, this player's still obviously a pillar, we need to somehow kill him, but now we're worried about all the rotations that come in. Now this round here is also a pretty chalk buy, but M80 win this round to win the game, and we can see at the start of the round Hex wanted to get boosted into ladder room, but there's no window smoke. Paravision actually missed their window smoke in a major tier 1 official, which is crazy, and eventually we can see that they didn't want to boost because Hex would get stuck left side window, and now after there was really no mid noise or mid progression, so Hex feels comfortable to eventually boost Hex into ladder. But something that he does is that he eliminates any threats. He doesn't want to get timing swing to the other side of window, so he's going to use his molly, flush this player out, and now Slacks knows that nobody is in mid, which is going to make him rotate towards jungle to reinforce A. But we're also going to see that Swisher is over here spotting B. He's going to get some action. Now it is questionable that he does have a Deagle anchoring B, but something to note as well is that he's going to throw the fake bench smoke, and with this smoke in play, a lot of players will obviously go play behind it to just try to stay alive, but Swisher is going to play in front of it. Now Hex does get a kill over here towards Cat, and then now Swisher has a lot of action where now his goal is to try to get one and stay alive. He obviously doesn't. Hex is going to throw a disruptive smoke. Now I talk about a lot of these in my videos, and we're going to see that this smoke is going to cause a lot of chaos because Hex could obviously lurk over to the left or swing from the right, which we're going to see, and M80 are just going to be able to eliminate Paravision on this eco and win this game and go 2-0 and then eventually go 3-0 and make it to the next stage of the major.